What is up, Bleacher Report? Jesse here with another 49ers Daily. And what a day to be having a 49ers Daily. The 49ers make a trade today for Bryce Huff. What's crazy is I don't think we know the details of the draft pick. At least I haven't seen it yet. All I've heard is a mid-round draft pick. That could be, to me, that's a third, fourth, fifth round pick. Hopefully it's a fifth. I know the 49ers have a few fourth rounders. I'm hoping that they didn't trade a fourth for him. But either way, this is a move that they needed to make. This is a move that, I mean, quite frankly, when they went into the draft and they let go of Leonard Floyd, that was one of the head scratchers that it's like, I see the vision, San Francisco. I see the vision. Everything that you guys are doing this offseason, I understand it. Even if I don't agree with it all, I understand where you're going. But when they let go of Floyd, it did make me wonder because I feel like they needed depth at the edge position and they needed a pure pass rusher, and they just didn't have that until today. They definitely got themselves a pure pass rusher. Now, when you look at Bryce Huff's career, it's been a little bit all over the place. He's had 5 years in the NFL. He did have the 1 year where he had a 10 sack season in 2023. And I know initially when the trade went down, I was like, oh, Robert Saleh is the one that got the 10 sacks out of him. Like, this is incredible. Then I had to kind of pinch myself and remember that Robert Saleh did have 3 years with him. And those first 2 years with him didn't go so great. You know, Bryce Huff he had the breakout year right before he got paid. But when you look at his career, 2020, 2 sacks. That was his rookie year. His second year, which is his first year, so second year in the league, first year with Robert Saleh, 2 sacks. His third year in the league, second year with Robert Saleh, 2022, 3.5 sacks. Then he has the 10 sack season. And then last year gets the big money from the Philadelphia Eagles, who are now trading him to the 49ers. He was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl, if you can believe that, and 2.5 sacks. But here's the way that I see it. They don't need him to be a 10 sack monster. He's not going to be a starter for them. He's going to be a rotational pass rusher. And if you look at his career, actually, most of his games, he hasn't been a starter. He's been more of a rotational pass rusher. That's where he's best suited. And what I like about this is that when the 49ers drafted Mykel Williams, to me, it was pretty clear he's not the pure pass rusher yet. He's going to set the edge downs 1 and 2, but down 3, you can move him to the interior and he can be very, very effective there. But the question was, who were you going to move to the outside? Who was going to be the pure pass rusher there? Yatir Gross-Matos isn't that. Leonard Floyd you traded. Robert Beal hasn't done anything. And in fact, he's hurt again. So now you have your answer. Now it starts to make sense. And this move is actually good for both teams. It's clear that Bryce Huff was not ever going to really play in Philadelphia. They hung on to him to this point. I know that most people that cover the Philadelphia Eagles were talking about that after June 1st, if they couldn't trade him, they were going to work out a deal and move on from him and cut him. So the way that this works for them is they were able to rework that deal. They trade him, which saves even more money. They get a draft pick for him. So that's a win for the Eagles. But for the 49ers, they get their hands on him. They get the new rework deal. It's about 7.7 million against the cap this year, 17 million against the cap next year. But really, this is a contract year for him. He's probably not going to see that 17 million, especially with the 49ers. They're going to rework that deal or they're going to trade him. We'll see what ends up happening, cut him, what have you. I don't know. But for right now, I like this. And being only 27 years old, that also means that they could keep him through next year. It would just be a rework deal, maybe a couple years added on, what have you. But I like this. You've got a young defensive line. He's not an aging player. That's the one thing about Leonard Floyd is he was on the other side of 30. It's not like you're going to have him for a long time. So Bryce Huff knows this system. He has done well in it, at least one of the 3 years he was in it. And ultimately, Robert Saleh, this is a guy that he wants. So we've got to trust that this is good. But this is not much needed depth for the 49ers. They did need this. They absolutely needed this depth. Now, I don't want to sit up here and gaslight you and act like this was the biggest move and now they're Super Bowl contenders. No, Bryce Huff's an okay player. He's a rotational pass rusher. He broke out one season, 10 sacks one season. His other 4 seasons, he's got a total of 10 sacks. So he's, kind of a one-hit wonder at this time. The good news is he was a one-hit wonder with Robert Saleh, and he's not expected to be a starter. Rotational pass rusher, and he fits what the 49ers want to do. So for me, overall, I like this deal. I really hope that they didn't give up a fourth round pick. I think that would be a bit too rich for a player that ultimately was about to get cut. I don't mind giving up a fifth for him just to make sure that he ends up here, rework the deal, helps the Eagles, helps the 49ers. But if they gave up a fourth, I think that they probably overspent a little bit. But either way, this is a player that's going to help the 49ers, and this was a much needed piece. And you think of everything that they've done through the draft, free agency, everything really makes sense. It all ties together. There's not one piece that you're looking at going, "God, I don't understand what you were thinking here." Like even if you're in the camp of where you think Martin was a little bit of a reach or what have you, it still makes sense. The player makes sense. So everything that they've done, Stout makes sense from a blitzing standpoint. Martin makes sense. Now you added Huff. You needed that pass rusher off the edge. So when you kick Michael Williams inside, I mean that's exactly what you want to see. So I'm really really excited about this. The edge position is starting to look a little bit deeper, which is much needed for this team. And again, you add a young player, not much of a cost. It's a good move for the 49ers. It was a very good move. Now, I will say, a little nervous initially. When you make a deal with the Eagles, I feel like you've really kind of got to check yourself. Like, is this the right move? What's going on here? Philadelphia likes to get over on people. And from what I gather from Philadelphia fans, content creators, what have you, they love this deal for the Eagles. They expected to either trade him just to get off the cap. They figured they would have to give up like a fifth round pick and trade him for like a sixth round pick in return, one of those, just so that another team would eat cap. Or they were going to cut him and eat more cap. So they're elated with this trade, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad trade necessarily for the 49ers. Like I said, I think overall this is a good move. I'm just curious to see what that compensation is, and I'm praying it's a fifth round pick, not a fourth, but definitely didn't expect this to go down today. Love this. It's not official until Sunday. This move has to wait because it's a post June 1st designation. And unlike when you cut a player post June 1st, you cannot make a trade and then designate it post June 1st. So something to keep an eye out on. And as I take stock of this team and especially this defense, the only real concern that I have right now is the safety position. I don't know if they have a true starter at safety with Malik Mustafa out. They moved on from Talanoa Hufanga. Jair Brown is hurt. Now, he should be back for training camp, but Jair Brown's a player that took a major step back last year. Is he going to bounce back? Is he going to look more like his rookie self? Very curious to see what he looks like under Robert Saleh and this new defense. But if he looks like he did last year, the 49ers don't necessarily have a starting safety. So think about Tayshaun Gibson a couple years ago. Really late ad for the 49ers. Most of us thought it was going to be a depth piece. He ends up starting for the 49ers, playing really good football. I could see the 49ers making a similar move. Maybe they go get Simmons, what have you. But I don't know that they're done with this roster. I could see them adding a safety, a starting caliber safety. I think Robert Saleh is probably going to want to see what Jair Brown looks like. I'm sure that they're confident in Malik Mustafa. Obviously, they drafted Siegel, but Marquis Siegel's hurt already himself, and he's got to get ready for the NFL. He hasn't been around in OTAs. I think it's a long shot that he starts. So if Jair Brown looks shaky, don't be surprised if they sign a veteran safety and bring him in, whether it's Blackman or Simmons, what have you. I think that that's the one position where they need to add. It's like, yeah, okay, well, who's going to play linebacker next to Fred Warner? And I look at that and I say, They'll figure it out. Fred Warner's out there. You're playing next to Fred Warner. You're good. Well, who's going to play corner with Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green? I don't know. They'll figure it out. You're playing next to Renardo Green and Diamador Lenore. You'll be fine. But safety, it's like, I don't know if they have one starter. If they had a stud starter, then I wouldn't care who the other safety is. It's like, well, you're playing next to so-and-so. You'll be fine. But right now, I genuinely don't know. It all comes down to Jair Brown and what he is and what he's not. But again, if he's like he was last year, they don't have a true starting safety, and that could be a major weakness for him. So I would say I don't expect him to make a trade necessarily, but do not be surprised if they add a safety. I think that's the position to look out for. Now, I was going to talk about this last night, but I got so sidetracked with the Brandon Ayuk conversation. I'm glad that I had it. I think it was an important conversation to have. But tonight, I do want to talk about the 49ers that are under the most pressure to perform. And I think there's different reasons for all these players, and I'll go through them. But I want to be clear about this. I think this list would be different if this was the 49ers under the most pressure to perform from a national perspective. I'll give you an example. If I was making this list from a national perspective, I would say that Brock Purdy is number one on the list, most pressure to perform, because the national media is not going to talk about how great the salary cap hits are and how well it was structured by the 49ers. And they don't care about that. They're going to see 265 million, 53 million AAV, top 7 paid quarterback, according to those numbers. And they will go in if Brock Purdy's struggling. They just will. Is he worth it? Is he not? That's going to be the conversation every single week. So from a national media perspective, Brock Purdy would be number one, but I'm making this list for the diehard fans, and I'm making this list for the local media satisfaction. This is not a national thing. That is not how I'm looking at it. So I do have Brock Purdy on my list, but instead of being the guy under the most pressure, he's actually number 5 on my list. And the reason he's number 5 on my list, why I have him, is one of the 49ers that have the pressure to perform this year, is because he just got a new deal. And it does matter. Yes, it was structured phenomenally, but he also is technically on essentially a 1-year extension. After 2026, if things are going well, the 49ers do have an out in the contract. They can eat about 36 million in dead cap and they can move on from it. This is one of the reasons why I praise the contract for being as good as it is. But from the Purdy side of the house, if he doesn't live up to that, then that wouldn't be great news. It would be great for the 49ers if they have an opportunity to get out, but I think everybody involved wants this to go well. The 49ers want him to be awesome. He wants to be awesome. Fans want him to be awesome. So there's no debate there. But Brock Purdy has to also be awesome, and that's why he has pressure. He did get paid. He is coming off of a season where, whether you think 49ers or excuse me, quarterback wins is a stat or not, and I don't really buy into it, a lot of people do. And this team was 6-11 last year. So if this team doesn't make the playoffs with this schedule, then somebody's head's going to roll, and Brock Purdy will be a part of that. Unfortunately, you're the big money bags quarterback. You absolutely need to perform. So yeah, certainly Brock Purdy has some pressure, not the most pressure, not in my eyes. He's number 5 on my list, but Brock Purdy absolutely does have pressure, and he didn't play as well as he would want to. He would say that. He has said that. Last year, he didn't play up to his standards. So this year, he has to. So for that reason, Brock Purdy, number 5 on my list. All right. Sammy Cito says Pearsall and Jair Brown are 2 for sure. It's funny. Jair Brown definitely has pressure. He's not on my list, though, but I do like this. I actually like that. I think for me, he's a good honorable mention. I do have Ricky on my list. So spoiler alert, you will catch Ricky Pearsall on this list. But Jair Brown is good. We just talked about him earlier on in the episode. He absolutely does have pressure. He's just not on my list, but I like it. I like it. And I'm curious to know who your 5 are. Number 5 for me is Purdy. Bosa is number 4. And the reason Bosa's number 4 is twofold. One, you're talking about, well, not anymore, but one of the highest paid defensive ends in football, defensive player of the year a couple years ago, hasn't gotten the sack totals that people expect him to get. Now, sacks are not the only thing that make you a good player, but sacks are the sexy number that everybody looks at. It's like touchdowns on offense. Although touchdowns are not the only thing that matters, they are the most important thing. And so when you're not getting the sack numbers that people expect from you, they feel like you're not performing. And so that puts pressure on Bosa. But also from a leadership perspective, say what you want, but Bosa is not a hired mercenary. He's a guy who got paid big time money. He's a guy who's a captain on this team. And when you look across that defensive line, this is a defensive line that is young. This is Phil, 3 rookies are expected to play major snaps for this team. Now, they just added Bryce Huff. That's awesome. But Bosa has to be the leader amongst this group. He has to be the one to set the tone. He's going to have to teach these guys. He's like a Papa Cub or a Papa Bear teaching his cubs how to play football, how to use their hands, how to stack moves on moves and get after the quarterback. So he's a lead at those things. He has to be a leader for those young guys. So that puts pressure on him naturally. I think he's up to the task, but there's definitely some pressure on Bosa, and that's why I have him at number 4. Couchlock says the defense needs to step up, and then Sammy Cito says, I'm going to play a little coy, and I'll tell you my top 5 after. So you won't have to spoil your list. All right, that's fair. I appreciate it. All right, number 3. You mentioned it, Sammy Cito. I've got Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall going into year number 2. Last year, he had the unfortunate situation where he got shot. That was about as bad as it can go. Thank God he's alive. Thank God he's able to play football again. But that kind of overshadows the fact that he was pretty injury prone up to that point. He had a hamstring pull. He had a shoulder subluxation that went back to college. That happened a couple times. And he missed most of up to the preseason. Now, when you look at this offseason, he needs this time to prepare. It's very unfortunate that he's now out with another hamstring injury and is not getting this time. And when you look at it, you've got Brandon Ayuk who's hurt. They moved on from Deebo Samuel. They're expecting Ricky Pearsall to make a major jump this year. We're all expecting that from Ricky. Ricky's going to be 25 years old when the season starts. He's not young. He's an older player, even though he's only going into year 2. And you only get one redshirt year. Last year was your redshirt year. Everybody was cool. They were just happy to see you playing football after what happened. You had the 2 awesome games. The 49ers are going to rely on you to be a big part of this offense this year going forward. And you either are or you are not. So let's hope he can stay healthy. Let's hope he can get back on the field for training camp, make it all the way through camp and make a difference. But Ricky Pearsall is definitely on the clock. You cannot be a first round pick and not live up to expectations. Couchlock says number 1 is Ayuk. I disagree. I don't have Ayuk on my list. I think he could be an honorable mention for sure. But the reason is because he's coming off of a catastrophic injury. I mean, I know that he's getting paid, but you kind of get that grace period when you're coming off the injury for sure. Now, he's not helping himself with all of his Instagram posts. I'll say that for sure. But I would say that he gets a little bit of grace because of that injury. But I'm sure there are a lot of fans like yourself that are going to be holding him very accountable for sure. Number 2 for me on this list, the player second most pressure on this team is Deommodore Lenoir. Now, Deommodore Lenoir got paid last season as well. It happened during the middle of the season, so it went a little bit under the radar. Great deal for the 49ers. But Deommodore Lenoir is now the number 1 corner. He's made his living mostly playing out of the nickel spot. But now that they moved on from Charvarius Ward, Lenoir is going to be the guy. And the other thing with Deommodore Lenoir is he talks a lot of ish. So when I look at Deommodore Lenoir, when the schedule release came out, he was basically going after every receiver that they're about to play and calling them out of their name. And it was like, this guy sucks. This guy's getting locked down. This guy's weak. And if you remember, when Metcalf got traded to the Steelers, he was like, oh, he came out on social media. It was like, oh, that's too bad. He's the only receiver that was worth a while in this division. Now he's gone. It's not going to be any fun. So Deommodore Lenoir's talked a lot of trash, and he's going to have to back that up across the league. And now you are not playing out of the slot. You are not just like an extra fun gadget piece. You are the man now. And I think he's up to the task for sure. Listen, he doesn't lack confidence. He's an Oregon Duck. All right. He's an Oregon Duck. So got a lot of faith in him. But Deommodore Lenoir has put some pressure on himself, major pressure on himself to perform. And these receivers are going to be coming after him. And I'm excited to see how he performs this year. But for that reason, I've got Deommodore Lenoir at number 2. Number 1 on my list. Most pressure this season. Jake frickin' Moody, man. Are you kidding me? Jake Moody, first of all, 3rd round draft pick. That's pressure in itself. You were not good last year. You really haven't been good for a big chunk of your career. His rookie year missed a ton of field goals. He missed a kick in every single playoff game, whether it was an extra point or a field goal. He missed a kick in every single playoff game. Then you come out last year, you start out kind of hot. You have the injury. Maybe you came back too early. But man, brother, you missed like 3 kicks against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Almost lost that game single-handedly. And you've got a new special teams coordinator who's replaced your long snapper. He's replaced your punter and brought in 2 kickers to compete with you. He is under pressure big time. Jake Moody has all the pressure in the world. And I don't know if there's a 49er fan in the world that would be upset if they moved on from Jake Moody. So, Jake, you've got to perform. He knows he's under pressure. That's why he's changed his kicking. He used to do a 3-step approach. Now he's doing a 2-step approach. Supposedly that takes slight distance away from his kicking game, but it should make him more accurate. So he's feeling it. And I feel for Jake Moody under the point that when you press and you see it, it's hard to watch, man. When these kickers get in their own mind, it is tough to see because we all notice it, we all feel it, and he's clearly pressing right now. So hopefully he can get back on track, be the kicker for a long, long time, but I don't have a lot of confidence in it, and Jake Moody certainly has a ton of pressure this year. Couchlock says missing camp and then getting injured. Bosa missed camp and took half the season to get back to it. I feel like holding out hasn't played well for us Niners fans. No, it really hasn't, which is great because this year they took a different approach. So I'm with it. And then Sammy Cito says 1000% Jake Moody's under pressure. And then Couchlock says, damn, nailed it. Forgot about Moody. Cole should have gotten paid. You know what's interesting is I guess Robbie Gould is a mentor for Jake Moody. So he's had a big hand in him changing his kicking approach this offseason. I didn't know that. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if it's because of the 49er connection or just that's who Jake Moody sought out as a mentor, but very, very happy that Robbie Gould is helping Jake Moody. And God knows he needs it for sure. So for me, let me go through the list again. 5 49ers with the most pressure from 5 to 1. I've got Brock Purdy, mainly because of the contract. Bosa, because of the sack numbers and the fact that he's dealing with a bunch of rookies along the defensive line that he has to mentor. Ricky Pearsall, you're going into year 2, 25 years old. You cannot redshirt again. You have to perform. Already starting off OTAs with an injury, not great. Deommodore Lenoir got paid, now going to be the number 1 corner. And he's talked trash all amongst the league and the receivers. And then Jake frickin' Moody, man. You've got a new special teams coach. You've got a new long snapper. You've got a new punter. And you've got 2 other kickers in the building that are set to compete with you. You've changed your kicking approach. The pressure is there. You were a 3rd round pick. You got the yips last year. It's time to step up. So those are the 5 49ers under the most pressure. in my opinion, this year. We talked a little bit about the Bryce Huff deal. Overall, I do like it. Just don't expect that he's a savior. He had the one season with 10 sacks with Robert Saleh. He also played 2 other seasons with Robert Saleh, had a total of 5.5 sacks in those 2 seasons. He's had 20 sacks in his career, 10 came in one season. So a bit up and down, but the 49ers getting him a little bit on the cheap. We don't know the draft pick necessarily yet. Hopefully it's not a 4th rounder. If it's a 5th rounder, I'm very happy with that. So that's what we covered tonight. Sammy Cito says, great list. I would only add Jair Brown, make or break season, need a defensive tackle to step up. Yeah, for sure. We do. And you could throw one of those rookies on the list for sure. But usually you kind of get a year to go with it. But yes, when you have 2 rookies at defensive tackle, one of them certainly has to step up. And Jair Brown, I have no qualms about it. Like I said, I think for me, if I had a list of 6, he would have made the list. So I think you're right on. So appreciate you. Sammy also says, if we didn't sign Huff, I would have included Michael. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. You know, you want your first round pick to perform. Um, I just don't know who I'd move off the list because I feel like all these guys are under pressure. We'd almost have to make it a list of 7, brother. That's the way that I'm seeing it. So, anyways, I hope you all have a blessed weekend. I'll be back next Thursday, 9 p.m. with another 49ers Daily. This has been Jesse with Last Second Sports. Peace.